Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be basically taking you through, as I get comfy here, the celebrity Constellation Cruise that I went on from mid-April 2019 to mid-May-ish 2019. So it was a 15-night cruise that went from Abu Dhabi to Rome. So if you've not been on a cruise before, highly recommend, especially if you follow this tip. One of the best ways to find a affordable cruise is to wait until 2 months before the cruise is going to take off. So try not to book it more than 8 weeks in advance. Obviously, I know there's things that could impact that. Obviously, if you're planning your trip and you need to make sure you're going to be able to go on that cruise, you need to book in advance. I get that. But the more last minute you book, the more likely you can get their last minute sale price for the cruise. So I went on the Abu Dhabi to Rome cruise for 15 nights for $4.99 US. So the thing you have to be aware of for cruises though are that that's the cruise price, but then there's also the tax for gratuities. That's mandatory, you have to pay that. And so that ends up being about an extra $500 US. But when you factor in that for about $1,000 US, everything is included. So you have all of your travel between all of those countries that I'm about to tell you about that it went on, from Abu Dhabi to Rome. It includes all of your food, includes all of your drinks, unless you're drinking alcohol, in which case that's extra. And then it includes your accommodation. So for all of that, for us, they're an affordable way to travel. If for $1,000 per person, we can do that kind of thing and see that many countries in one vacation. It's a good use of our time. We get about, here in Australia, you get about 4 weeks paid vacation per year. And given that Australia is so far from a lot of places in the world, if we want to go to places like Europe, that takes at least a day or two each way just in traveling. So we really want to maximize our trips, and we think that cruises are the way to do that. So I'm going to go through the Celebrity Constellation cruise path that we went through, starting with Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi was a little bit unexpected because we'd been to Dubai before and we thought that it'd be quite similar. Abu Dhabi is actually quite a bit smaller, so we first got a glimpse of that at the airport. We arrived in the middle of the night, and the airport is very, very small. So that ended up being a great thing for us. Between landing and getting into the taxi from the airport, it was about, I would say, a 10-minute process at maximum. It was so quick to get off the plane and get through security and customs and get out to the taxi. So that was a really straightforward process. As soon as you get out of the airport, there's a taxi line right there waiting for you. And so we got into the taxi, but the one thing that we did not realize for Abu Dhabi, which we quickly had to fix the next day, is Abu Dhabi tip is make sure you bring cash. Almost nowhere takes credit card, which was quite frustrating for us because we do tend to just travel mostly cashless for most places we go around the world now. But it was a good thing for us to realize, and there were ATMs all around that we could use our card to get cash out, which luckily ended up in no transaction fees for us, so we were lucky. But we definitely only came with like maybe the equivalent of $100 cash, which we bring to each country in the correct currency for like emergency purposes. But based on the fact that the first day we had to take a cab ride, which basically took up at least $30 from the airport to the city. Because we were only there for 2 nights, we didn't have a whole lot of time to try and work our way through, like normally we use the metro system and things like that to get around. Because the only things we wanted to do were right near where we were staying, we decided just to quickly cab to where we wanted to go because there were no metros near where we wanted to go. So for Canadians, if you are interested in this, they have Tim Hortons. So right maybe a 2-minute walk from our hotel was a Tim Hortons. We love Tim Hortons. It's one thing we don't have here in Australia, and it's definitely something we miss from back home in Canada. And so if you like Tim Hortons, there is a Tim Hortons there for you. And we saw them in several places. We checked out the Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi, which was beautiful. They have these beautiful quotes on all the walls. I'll put some pictures up, some footage of us going through Abu Dhabi. But that was utterly fantastic. We loved it. And we definitely recommend that you check out that museum. And apparently they're going to be building a Guggenheim Museum in the years to come, and so those are going to be right close to each other. And again, because of the location of the Louvre, we just took a taxi there. All the taxis are very affordable, no matter where we went within the city center. It was only $7, equivalent with the currency exchange for us. And so $7 taxi to get where we need to go was really convenient for us, because we basically just took a taxi from our hotel to the Louvre, and then spent most of the day there, and then took a taxi to the mall that was near our hotel, and then walked back to our hotel from that. So depending on what time of year you go, it's good weather, because April when we went, it was hot but not too hot. We've been there before. We've been to the United Arab Emirates before, when it's just way too hot and no one can handle that. So definitely recommend Abu Dhabi as a place to go. And then if you're going to the port from Abu Dhabi, you definitely need to take a taxi there, because there's nothing around that port. I truly don't know how else you would get there. And so we took a taxi, and again, it was very affordable, only $7 again, to get from our hotel to the port. So it's quite convenient, very easy process. And you get a beautiful skyline from the ship of basically the entire city. So the only thing I did not do was go and see the mosque, which I really recommend you do. We were going to go, but my husband was quite ill that night. They recommend that you go around like 4 o'clock, so you can see basically sunset at the mosque, and then see the mosque during the day and at night. And so that would be my tip for that. That was what our plan was. But then my husband was too ill, and so that definitely just means we're going to have to go to Abu Dhabi again. All right, so that was port number 1. And I'm looking at the time, and it looks like this is going to be a long video, so I might do this in 2 parts. All right, so the next stop that we went to is Dubai. If you've not been to Dubai before, it is amazing. There's so much to do, and I really recommend, depending on whether or not you're going to come back again, doing Dubai on your own. It is so easy to get around. They had a shuttle service from the celebrity Constellation cruise ship to the Egypt themed mall, and so I'll put the name of that mall in the description down below, because I don't know how to pronounce anything there. But the Egyptian themed mall was so pretty inside. That was definitely, like, they just have these beautiful ceilings that I'll never ever forget. And that was a good place to go and basically then zip around the city to wherever you want. So their daily train tickets are like less than $5. You can zip around on the Metro Pass very easily. It's a very easy system to follow. And so that was basically how we got around the city. So because we've been to Dubai before, we didn't go to all the places we've been before, like Dubai Mall or Mall of Emirates and things like that, but they are all worth seeing. We've been to a bunch of them, and there's so much to see and so much to do, like indoor ski hill, go scuba diving in the giant aquarium, excellent shopping, Tim Hortons again if you like Timmy's, and there's a lot of like just really good stores to shop at a thrifted price. So as you know, if you've been here before, I like cheap shopping, none of the luxury shopping. There's plenty of luxury shopping for everyone, but there's also affordable shopping. So there's definitely a lot of stores like Shoe Express. I really recommend that. They have great prices and really great shoes. And they also have Payless shoes. If you're from Canada, they had that. And so there's a lot for everyone. But where we went was thrifting in Dubai. So I will be posting that video of what I got thrifting in Dubai. There's only one thrift store in all of Dubai, and it has fantastic prices, lots of goodies. It's not a giant shop, and like I said, thrifting is really not a thing in Dubai, but this one shop that they do have, it was excellent. It was just 5 minutes from the Egyptian mall that I told you about, and so it's very convenient for us to zip around and do that. So if you're going to Dubai, there's definitely tons to do. You can get a cruise tour if you want. Obviously, they're very pricey, as all the shore excursions are usually for cruises. We tend to avoid them just because they're very pricey, and 9 times out of 10 you can easily do it yourself on the cheap. So where you can't, I'll let you know for this cruise, but for Dubai you can easily just zip around yourself. But even if you went on the tours, most frequent comment I heard from my fellow shipmates was that it just wasn't enough time. They basically just went on a bus and saw everything for a split second and didn't really get a chance to appreciate it. So if you don't want to just do a drive-by, and an expensive drive-by at that, I really recommend that you just hop on the metro and go see things on your own, because it's a very straightforward city, very easy to get around. So there's Dubai. So the next place that we went to was Muscat, Oman. So that was it was like, you know, all you could see from as far as the eye could see in every direction was desert sands. We did get there on a Friday though, and so everything was closed for prayer. So there was very few things open, very few people out and about. And so we only kind of got a glimpse of what you would have seen in Oman. But basically when you get off the ship, they have a shuttle bus to take you from like the port where they dock the ship to the main strip. So it's not a very big place from what I could see, but the main street does take, it would be too hard to walk in, I think. We basically, you could walk it in about 15-20 minutes to be quite honest, but it was so hot it would have been unbearable. And even while we were there walking around, it was moderately unbearable, so we didn't walk around for too long. So after a couple of hours of just wandering through the semi-open market and just walking along the beautiful coastline and just getting a feel for Oman, we basically walked back to the ship and spent the rest of the day in air conditioning, but it was a good glimpse of Oman, and we definitely would go back, and it'd definitely be exciting to see it when there's more hustle and bustle and you can get more of an experience and try some of the food. So it was, like I said, not too far from the port at all. There was a main strip to see the shops along the waterfront, but beyond that it just looked like there wasn't too many things in terms of main touristy type attractions. I know there were some tours, but they're really quite limited in terms of the amount of tours that were available there. So we just kind of got a beautiful introduction to Muscat, Oman, but it's definitely somewhere that we would definitely want to experience on a non-Friday. Then in terms of the next port, we went to Aqaba, Jordan. So this is the only place on the cruise that we went and took a shore excursion. Now we're grateful that we did, because we heard a few, you know, not so good stories from other people who tried to do it locally. I do think that it was really overpriced in terms of shore excursion, because literally we paid about $250 US per person to go from the cruise ship and take a 2-hour-long bus ride to where they gave you a buffet lunch, which was, you know, nothing special, buffet lunch, and then drive you the rest of the way, maybe another hour, to Petra, Jordan. So Petra was phenomenal. You absolutely, if you're going to Aqaba, Jordan on your cruise ship, you have to go to Petra. It is so beautiful, beyond words. It's just, it's unreal. It's a beautiful way to see something that old and that beautiful. And I took a horse ride through. You can walk through, you can horse ride through, you can take a carriage through. It's just a beautiful place. Now, it only costs $20 US to be able to go through and walk through Petra. But because it's, you know, a 2 to 3 hour bus ride there and back, you're spending about 6 hours a day traveling to it, to and from it. So basically, whilst I'm sure there are private places that you could purchase in advance through some sort of travel agency to get you there and back, we did hear some horror stories in terms of people nearly not making it back to the boat on time, or people who their bus broke down on the way to Petra, and they spent most of their day waiting for a bus to take them back. And so there were a few stories like that. And so that was one place where we're glad that we took the shore excursion, just because it wasn't uncomfortable, but I definitely didn't feel that comfortable wandering around by myself, just because people would tend to grab me quite a bit. And so I had to stick with my husband and stick with the tour group, just because they were just very, the people that we were around on that particular day, it just felt a little bit uncomfortable to be away from the cruise excursion people. So We are glad that we did it, but it's definitely just so well worth seeing Petra. So however you get to Petra, make sure if you're going to Aqaba, Jordan, to that cruise port, you check out Petra. Then next we headed off to towards Greece through the Suez Canal. So on this particular cruise, which was a 15-night cruise, like I said, from Abu Dhabi to Rome, there were a lot of at-sea days. So normally my husband and I, we go cruising every year, and we try to avoid cruises that have too many at-sea days. Now the reason we do that is because we obviously want to see as many places as we can, and we're not very good at relaxing. We don't just like to lie there by the pool, but we wanted to force ourselves on this particular trip to do that. And so it had about 8 at-sea days, meaning that every few days there would be at least, like at one point I think there was 5 at-sea days in a row, which for us is a lot. But it was amazing. I've done a whole video on the Celebrity Constellation Cruise ship itself, and so feel free to check that out. But the amenities were amazing. I just had an absolute blast reading books every day, reading by the pool, swimming in the pool, seeing fantastic shows every night. So it was well worth it. We loved our at-sea days. It was so relaxing. Then heading through the Suez Canal, I thought those would be basically at-sea days and I wouldn't really be doing much, but I have to admit the entire 2 days that we were going through the Suez Canal, I was running back and forth on the ship, and they had this constant commentary going on in the ship about what you were seeing, as if you were on like a tour guide, and doing like a canal cruise that you would do in cities. And so going through the Suez Canal was actually a phenomenal experience. I definitely recommend it. We saw like the world's longest suspension bridge, I think it was. Whatever it was long, it was amazing. It was so beautiful to glimpse like the Egyptian architecture. You can see quite a bit just going through the canal. And so that was quite lovely for them to do, to have that constant commentary of what you're seeing, because I couldn't get internet on my phone, so I obviously didn't know what I was seeing. And so it was really beautiful to just glimpse through those 2 days through the canal, and just get a glimpse of Egypt. And so Egypt is definitely on our list, and I'm so sad that it doesn't stop in Egypt, but it was such a beautiful glimpse of it, and we'll definitely add that to our list of places we want to go and see more of. Then next, our next part was, and I start having pictures for these parts because nobody prints pictures anymore, but I just absolutely love making our travel walls. I have a video on that if you want to check out my travel wall video. But basically, I just have this map where I stick little flags everywhere we've been around the world, and then have all these pictures, 4x6 pictures of our favorite places around the world that we've been to, and our favorite pictures from around the world. So our next place that we went to was Athens, Greece. And so Athens and seeing the Acropolis was phenomenal. So I definitely recommend, when you get off the cruise port in Athens, there are those hop-on, hop-off buses that you can get. Definitely negotiate with them and get them to work out a good price for you. We paid $20 per person, I think equivalent of US money, so $20 US per person, to go from the cruise ship port, because it breaks off at a hop-on, hop-off bus stop. So we got on there and made our way to the Acropolis very, very early in the morning. We tried to get off the cruise at like 7 o'clock in the morning so we can make most of our day, because we knew we'd be quite busy. So we went on the cruise port, hop-on, hop-off bus stop, all the way to the Acropolis, and got there right when the Acropolis opened, and just had a beautiful glimpse of the Acropolis before it started filling up with buses and buses of tourists. And so we got this beautiful glimpse of like just all these like I'll put on the screen probably actual things rather than these photos, but there's the amphitheater and the view of Athens all over the background. The views were just incredible. Like this like bird's eye view all over Athens was just phenomenal, and seeing just everything, like it was just beyond words beautiful. Beautiful weather, perfect weather for doing this kind of look out at everything. And so the Acropolis did not disappoint. I was so excited to just see everything the Acropolis had to offer. And so the Acropolis, we spent about maybe 2 hours there, and there's like little lookout points and little kind of areas around the Acropolis to walk around and take a look at. So we spent a better part of half the day there. And then once it was about midday to about 1 o'clock, we then went back on the hop-on hop-off tour and then started basically going to the other things in Athens for main touristy places for the next 4 hours. So we just kept using the hop-on hop-off bus tour tickets. They ran every 15 minutes, so we pretty much went to each stop for 15 to 30 minutes to basically see what was around Athens. So beautiful. We are definitely going to make Greece one of our return to countries because there's so much you can do in Greece, and a day is definitely only enough for a glimpse because it is beyond phenomenal. So that was Athens. It was absolutely phenomenal. And the next place that we went to was ancient Greece, the port of Catacolone. So I'm probably not saying that right. So Catacolone basically docks right on the waterfront of where all the businesses are. So literally 2-minute walk off of the cruise ship, you'll immediately find people who are selling you tickets for like $10 round trip or less. I think ours was 8 euros round trip, possibly. Very, very cheap. Whatever it was under $10, and it was a round trip per person to go from that cruise ship right at the exit of the cruise ship to ancient Greece and bring you back before your cruise leaves. So definitely recommend, don't do a shore excursion. Definitely get it off one of the locals who have plenty of buses that can take you there and back. We went to ancient Greece, and like I said, also a phenomenal day. Just beautiful seeing the ruins there. The ticket price at ancient Greece, I think, was less than $20 per person. And again, it was great value for money because the $20 allowed you to go not only to see the ruins, but you also can go to the 2 museums that they have, which have a lot that you can see. And so you do have to be quite time efficient. We tried to basically spend 1 hour in the ruins, 1 hour in each museum, and then make it back to the bus so that you can then have a nice drive through the Greece countryside before getting back to your cruise ship. So it was a beautiful day in Catacolone, and definitely recommend, like I said, just catching one of the buses that's available as soon as you get off the cruise ship, and you can make your way to ancient Greece. All right. Then next we have the final stop for us, which was Civitavecchia. Civitavecchia is basically an hour outside of Rome via train. So when you get off the cruise in Rome, it is not long or difficult to get to the train stop. There was a free shuttle bus that takes you closer to a train stop. I don't really know what the purpose of that a shuttle bus is supposed to be. I think it's just as close as they could get you, really, to the train stop. But basically, once you take your free shuttle bus to wherever that random spot was that they dropped you off, it was about a 10-15 minute walk to the train station. Very straightforward. I just used Google Maps, and we were able to roll our luggage there just fine through the cobblestone pathways, and it was a nice walk to walk through Civitavecchia anyways. You get to Civitavecchia, and it is very straightforward to be able to get a train to Rome. They run very, very frequently, and so we were able to just buy our tickets to Rome on the train, and then it's about, I think it was about half an hour to an hour to get to Rome, depending on what stop that you get off at. So I definitely recommend, again, no shore excursion needed, unless of course you are very time poor and only get to go see Rome for the day. If, for example, you are on a cruise ship and that's one of the ports. Since we ended in Rome, we were able to take our time, and we spent about 3 days in Rome just seeing what we could. If you're going on a tour, obviously it's a matter for you as to whether or not you want to book a tour through the cruise, or if you want to just get one in advance and just book it through someone else. There are so many cruise available through, there are so many tours available through endless amounts of Roman companies, and so it's a matter for you what you want to do. But in terms of our favorite thing, and I've been to Rome a few times now, the Acropolis is definitely a must-see. It's so beautiful. I still, because I've gone so many times, there've been so many things to do, I still haven't gone and walked through the amphitheater, but it's on my list. But what I do recommend is making sure you check out the Vatican Basilica. So St. Peter's Basilica is just a very iconic building that most cruises, shore excursions will take you there and you'll get a glimpse of the outside. But what is truly worth the extra time is waiting in line, which goes really fast. We just ate lunch while we walked in this lineup, to walk up for €7 to the top of St. Peter's Basilica. The views were phenomenal. I'm not a huge fan of going up towers because to me, you know, eventually they all start to look the same, but this view was breathtaking. It was such a beautiful experience. It was seeing the inside of the Vatican from that perspective, or seeing the inside of St. Peter's Basilica from that perspective, and seeing Vatican City from that perspective. It was just phenomenal. So I definitely recommend that if you're going to Rome, you have to go and pay the $7 to walk up the steps. Don't take the elevator because you don't get to go as far. But if you walk up the steps, which there are a lot of steps, so warning, it is quite strenuous. There's like 600 plus steps. It was a walk, but it was so worth it. Definitely recommend that if you're going to Rome, you have to do that. But there's so many things to do in Rome, so definitely recommend that if you are starting or ending your cruise in Rome, definitely plan to stay at least the week before or stay the week after your cruise, because it is well worth the time. There's so much to do, so much to see, and I basically power walked my husband around the city just so I could show him everything that I loved, but it made for a very hectic trip to try and squash as much as I could into 3 days. And like I said, it depends on what you like doing and what you like seeing, but there's something for everyone. Rome is amazing, the food is amazing, the vibe of the city is amazing, there are tons of people around at all times, and going through via trains and using the metro is so easy, so definitely recommend just buying a train ticket whilst you're there, and you can just zip around the city wherever you need to go. It's easy to get to all the touristy spots using the train, so that's what we did. And it's definitely well worth it. So that is, in a nutshell, the Celebrity Constellation cruise that we went on. And we took tons of photos. I know that not many people print their photos anymore, but I do, because I just love it. I love my travel wall. It's such a beautiful reminder of all the places in the world that there are to see. So we did this cruise from Abu Dhabi to Rome for 15 nights for $4.99 US. So that is a phenomenal price. For, you know, over a 2-week vacation, everything inclusive. The thing you have to remember for cruises, though, is there are mandatory gratuity taxes that you have to pay. So I think that was an extra $250 per person. And like I said, because of Petra, we did have to pay $250 per person for that shore excursion for that day, which, like I said, well worth it. I'm very glad we did that. So ended up being about $1,000 US per person. But considering when you do the breakdown that you're still paying such a phenomenally good price per day for your accommodation, for your travel, for your food, it's all inclusive, it's wonderful, and we absolutely love that cruise. So definitely recommend checking out that cruise, definitely recommend checking out any cruise lines, but this cruise path in particular was a phenomenal one to get a glimpse of United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Oman, Suez Canal, Greece, and Italy. And so hopefully you have some good ideas of where you plan on going next. And thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see more cruise visits from us, because we go on them every year, and I upload each individual city that we go to so you can get a glimpse of where you possibly might want to travel to in future. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.